Hey guys, it's Luke, bringing you guys a preview for the 2021 RBC Heritage, which is a great tournament, but obviously we're all still a little bit stoked after seeing this year's Masters. So first of all, I want to say congrats Deki, obviously, bringing it down for Japan for the first time, which is always awesome to see. The course obviously looked great. It was super firm and fast, just like, everyone was kind of saying coming into the week, and it really showcased the ball striking, and I think that's what I really liked about the tournament the most. I also liked seeing Will Zalatoris going out there finishing second. Actually, I think he finished third, I believe. But either way, great finish. Absolute stud. He's the future of the sport, I believe. But yeah, hope you guys won some money last weekend. I didn't do so great personally, but that's all right. We're on to this week in the RBC Heritage at Harbour Town. And speaking of Harbour Town, let's talk about this week's course. Like I said, the course for this week is going to be Harbour Town Golf Links. That's in Hilton Head, South Carolina, the beautiful island. And it's been the host course for this event for a very long time. So we have a lot of data for this. We have a lot of experience. We've seen a lot of rounds on TV and whatnot. So this week is going to be a little bit easier to model than most weeks. And the best part is, as well, is that a lot of the key stats are very telling. They're not very muddled. They're not very mixed up like they can be from time to time. This week, they paint a pretty clear picture, which should be a relief for some of you guys. And it's going to make us the selection process for us picking players a little bit easier, I believe. So the course is a par 71. It's 7,099 yards, which makes it one of the shorter ones on tour. And so that's a good thing to see for a lot of the shorter players. They're still going to be in play. We've had winners from all over the place, longer hitters, shorter hitters, and whatnot. But the important thing is that nobody's being left out. This is also a Pete Dye design, so it's very complex. If you've seen Pete Dye designs before, the Players' Championship is a Pete Dye design, and they're very complex, and they're meant to penalize bad shots. There's a lot of penalty areas typically on his courses, especially off the tee, and a lot of runoff areas around greens, a lot of small little pot bunkers as well. So you really have to be on top of your game to do well at a Pete Dye design. And that's something that we'll be incorporating into our modeling this week. And another thing I've noted is that there'll be Bermuda grass greens here at Hilton Head and with Harbour Town Golf Links. It's something that we've seen a lot recently, but something to note that I haven't really noted in my videos, but it is something of importance, is that it will likely be overseeded with rye. That's just due to the time of the year. It's not quite enough into spring where grass is growing perfectly and whatnot. We're still getting some frost from time to time in different parts of the year, and they overseed the grass to make sure that it looks lush, it looks good for TV, it looks good for the members and whatnot. So you're going to see that lush ryegrass. Is it really something that we can model or bring into importance? Not really. The tour players say it makes chipping a little bit easier, but I figured I'd mention at the very least. So don't take the Bermuda grass stats, with complete importance or anything. I mean, typically it's something we can use pretty reliably, but it might be a little bit different this week due to the overseeding. With that being said, let's talk about the field this week, which is stronger than usual, than we're used to seeing at the RBC Heritage. And that's because a lot of guys that played at the Masters are just, coming over. It's the same week. It's a short drive from Georgia over to South Carolina. So just a couple highlights here. We have DJ off a missed cut. We have Webb, Morikawa, Hatton, and Berger. We had Bryson, who was going to play, but he withdrew. I most likely think that he's going to work on his game. It looked kind of rough there at the Masters, to be honest with you. It wasn't just his driving. A lot of people were making it out to be like his driver was the cause of all his issues, but the truth is he wasn't really doing anything well. He wasn't putting, he wasn't chipping very well, and he needs to work on a lot. So I'm assuming that's what he's doing. But overall, there's going to be 136 golfers, so it's going to be top 65 in ties for the cut, which means that this week it's going to be a little bit easier than normal to get through that cut line. One thing to note is that a lot of the quote-unquote fake golfers out there, guys that play one event every 3-4 years, some people haven't even heard of them, whatnot, they're not really going to be around this week. The field is going to be a lot stronger on a pound-for-pound basis, just because the invitation process for this event is a little bit different than most tour events. It's a little bit smaller than most tour events, even with the same size cut. So don't necessarily be tricked into thinking that it's going to be super easy to get your guys through the cut. All the golfers this week are going to have a shot to at least make the cut. So in my opinion, it's not going to be the easiest week for 6-6 percentage. So just keep that in mind as well when you're thinking strategy later on. Now let's get into some of the key stats this week here at Harbour Town. Number 1 this week is going to be shots gained approach, which is always paramount when I'm doing my modeling week to week on the PGA Tour. If you've watched golf, you've played golf, you know just how important that approach play is. Some people call it the staple of the game. It's the beautiful part of the sport for many people. And this week it's going to be our number 1 key stat. So I want guys that are coming in hot with their irons of recent, but that also have a really good baseline with their irons. Because the main reason is this is a Pete Dye design. Your misses are going to be very, very much penalized at a course like a Pete Dye design. Those runoffs, those pop bunkers and whatnot, so they add at least 1 shot to your score, but they could even add more. It's very easy to compound a mistake at a course this difficult. So I want my guys this week to come in hot, have that good baseline as well. And just to give you guys an idea of how it comes out in terms of importance this week, it's the 19th most important course for approach play out of the 50 courses on tour that I'm using for this model. And what that tells me that it's more important than usual. It's usually the most important stat. So this week is going to be number 1 like no other. It's going to be important and obviously something I take into consideration. Number 2 this week, in terms of key stats, is going to be driving accuracy. So just like you saw at the Players, you saw how important driving accuracy can be. If you're hitting it into water, you're probably not making a very good score on that hole. So having accuracy off the tee is important. There's plenty of trouble here at Hilton Head. Being a coastal course, you have a lot of water drop-offs. There's lakes, there's canals, there's native areas that are very tricky to get out of. And you have to be accurate off the tee. You also have to be able to create proper angles into a lot of these greens. Pete Dye was a mastermind at making very, very tricky greens where the defense isn't necessarily a hazard. It's more of a drop-off area or a slope that protects a lot of these flags. And being able to create a proper angle to where you can actually attack flag sticks is going to be super important. So the accurate drivers not only stay out of trouble, but they set themselves up to make birdies. So that's going to be our number 2 stat this week. And again, it's number 4 out of 50 on tour in terms of importance. So it shows up in the modeling and it shows up with the eye test as well. That's for sure. The number 3 key stat this week is going to be shots gained putting. And that's because scoring this week is just vitally important. It comes in with number 7 in terms of importance out of 50 on tour, which is very notable. It's in the top 10 there, making it a very strongly correlated stat. And Bermuda Grass specialists this week are going to see even more of an advantage than normal. Now, before I obviously mentioned about the rye overseed, that's more going to affect the sides of greens. The way it works is that rye overseed is only placed really on the fairways or in the second cut, but it tends to creep onto the greens. So I'm still going to be looking for some Bermuda Grass specialists, but around the green play will be a little bit different there, obviously. But just to give you an idea of some of those specialists, Christian Bezuidenhout, he's a South African. He's great on Bermuda Grass. Matthew Fitzpatrick of England is great on Bermuda Grass as well, and so is Pan Kazire. So might maybe want to boost their projections a little bit this week with whatever you guys are doing. And the last key stat, number 4 for this week, is going to be birdie or better percentage. Obviously, at the RBC Heritage, if you've seen the winning scores of years past, they're pretty well under par, usually right around the minus 20 mark. So you're going to have to be able to score this week. So it goes hand in hand with scoring, like I said before, with shots gained putting. And it's also going to help out your DK score, obviously. The more birdies that you score, the more higher you score in fantasy, the more fantasy points you get. And in terms of modeling in my regression model, it comes in at number 9 out of 50 in terms of importance, which is absolutely, it's not something you normally see, honestly. So when it pops up, it's something important, it's something you have to consider. And we'll call it the quote-unquote eye test, but typically the score at the RBC Heritage does go very low, so it does make sense that you'd want guys who can score low. So those are the 4 key stats for this week, and next we'll get into the targets for this week. So, time for our players to target this week. Number 1 in our spend-up option is going to be Webb Simpson, coming in at $10,700. He's going to be chalk this week, but he's going to be an absolute lock for me this week. In cash play, GPPs, you name it, He's the best play this week, and I expect him to top 5 pretty much no matter what. Let's talk the stats on Webb Simpson. So first of all, he's 8th in the field in terms of greens in regulation percentage, and that's despite playing much harder courses and events than a majority of this field. He's also number 7 in the field in terms of birdie or better percentage, which is great to see. If you know Webb's game, you know he's capable of putting up plenty of birdies. He's also number 6 in the field in terms of shots gained putting, so he's a great putter. Again, if you know Webb's game, that shouldn't be very surprising. And he also comes in number 5 on tour in terms of driving accuracy. So those are all, 3 of those major key stats we are looking for right there. He also has a prolific short game as well. He's number 8 on tour in terms of around the green play. So he's more than capable of getting himself out of trouble when he gets into it. So overall, he models well in every category that we're looking at. He even played well last week at the Masters with a 12th place finish. Again, very different course, much more difficult course than we're going to be seeing this week. But it is important to note he led the field in birdies made last week. That's awesome to see, especially when we're going to very much a birdie maker's golf course here at the RBC Heritage. The best part is about Webb isn't that he models well this week. It's his course history, to be honest with you. He has never missed a cut here at the RBC Heritage. He has 3 top 5s, 1 win, a top 16 finish in 7 of his 10 trips to this event. That's probably the best course history that anyone has at any course. He's a lock for me, like I said. He models well, he's got great course history, and he's not even the most expensive player this week. He's number 3 in terms of his price on DK. He comes in the second favorite this week. And again, I just don't see how he doesn't play that well this week. It's Webb week. Let's run with it. Number 2, and our second man in for this week, is going to be Tyrel Hatton, who is $9,500 and coming in off an impressive 69 in Sunday's round at the Masters. For his course history, he made a cut in 2 of his 3 trips, including a 3rd place finish, which was last year. He's the number 8 ranked player in the world. Obviously, he's the number 4 ranked player in this field in the world. He also has a 12th placed rank in the field in terms of birdie percentage. He ranks 8th in the field in shots gained approach, which is number 10 on tour. A lot of the really good ball strikers on tour are here. He's number 13 in the field for shots gained putting, so he's excellent in all 3 of those categories. And he does have above average off the tee accuracy and distance, so he's going to gain on the field in pretty much every category this week. And that's really what I like about Hatton this week. He's got above average game in all the categories. He doesn't really have that one stat where he pops at a number 1 in the field or number 2 in the field kind of thing. But you don't necessarily have to win a golf tournament. We've seen it in the past. And I also love that he has high upside. We saw him top 3 the last time out here. And that was really before he gained a lot of his momentum in America. It was really after the RBC Heritage, more towards Bay Hill where he won, obviously, where he gained a lot of that momentum. So I love him this year. Something to note as well, he's 0.12 strokes better on Bermuda grass than average putting. He's already an excellent putter to begin with, obviously, so even better on Bermuda grass. And he's going to see ownership. The only reason I don't see myself playing a Hatton this week is that if he becomes extremely popular. Again, he's a volatile player. He makes a lot of birdies, but he also makes a lot of doubles and a lot of triple bogeys. So if he's going to be someone who's 30-40% owned, then I'm going to see myself not playing him. But if he stays reasonably owned, I'll definitely be over. I'm willing to play him in the 30-40% range. I'm just not willing to match the public on that kind of number. At that range, he's a fade for me. So keep that in mind when you're making your lineups later this week. My bread and butter play for this week is coming in at $8,400 and is Harris English. So he's made the cut in 5 of 8 trips to the RBC Heritage, and that was even when he was struggling with his game. If you remember, he had a very bad injury. He was playing on a major medical for a while, and even during those rough years, he still made the cut in 5 of 8 years. So that's good to see. He also gains in all 4 statistical categories in terms of shots gained, which is great to see. So very similar to Tyrel Hatton. And he's number 5 in the field in birdie or better percentage. Number 16 on the whole tour in terms of birdie average, which is very respectable, especially considering this field's going to be weaker than the tour average. At least it's not going to have those very elite guys, like probably half of 1 through 10 there. He's also above average driving accuracy, despite being number one in the field in terms of length. He's the longest driver in the field in terms of driving accuracy. Driving distance while still having above average accuracy. He's going to gain a ton of strokes off the tee in this field. So I love to see that. He's top 10 in the field in putting so far. And again, he's got above average approach play. And this is where I do see him potentially having an issue this week. He does gain with his irons. He tends to get hot, though. He tends to have events where he gains 5-6 strokes putting for the event. Has an excellent finish, has that top 5, top 10 finish. But he follows a lot of those events up with negative performances on approach. And if he has a negative performance on approach this week, he's not going to play very well. There's going to be a lot of stress on his around the green game, his putting, which is excellent. He does get, a lot of those scrambling opportunities through, but it's not a recipe for success. Let's call it that. So I am slightly worried about the irons, but if he does get hot, he is an extremely high upside play. So again, he loves coastal courses. He played well at the RSM Classic, which is a great comparison course for this event, and I think he's worth a flyer at the very least. So that's why he's my bread and butter play and somebody I'll definitely have in lineups this week. My value play is going to be Russell Henley. He's coming in at a modest $7,900. And let's just get to the stats because they tell the story completely. He's number 1 on tour in terms of scoring average, number 6 on tour in terms of shots gained approach, number 2 in the field in terms of greens and regulation percentage. He has prolific accuracy off the tee. He's typically top 5 in the whole tour every year for that. He's only top 10 in the field for that category this year. So he's had a little bit of an off year. That's something to keep an eye on. He's well above average in terms of birdie or better percentage at 3.78 per round, which is good to see, especially for DK scoring. And he's 0.2 strokes better per round of Bermuda grass, which is great because he's a top 5 putter in this field, and he's going to be even better on Bermuda grass. So he could very well top 5 finish in terms of putting this week. And if he does that, he'll likely finish in the top 5 on the actual leaderboard as well because he is a prolific ball striker, like I mentioned before. He has a 6th place finish at Harbour Town before. So with all things considered, he's a great value play this week. He's a great value for the price. I think with how he models it, at least, I think he's a very safe bet to make the cut, even safe to top 15, top 10. With that being said, looking at his course history, he has missed the cut here more than he has made it. We don't have the shots gained data for a lot of his events and a lot of his starts here, so we don't really know the whole story. But he seemingly fits the course, like I said, one of the best, if not the best in the field. So I'm still going to be playing him. His ownership's likely to be lower due to his course history, which is a positive, actually. But keep in mind that he does have a really, really bad course history. I'm willing to take the gamble that he had some off weeks with his putter, or he had some real freak on water balls or something like that happens at events like the Players, and I'm willing to take a chance on him, like I said. My diamond in the rough play for this week is going to be Matthew NeSmith, coming in at $6,900. And he has great course history here at the RBC Heritage. So he's made the cut in 6 of 8 starts coming in. Last year he made the cut, finished top 25, which I really like. And he also ranks number 1 on tour in terms of greens and regulation percentage. So elite iron play. He's been doing it well all year. And he has above average driving accuracy for the field. So he's going to gain strokes on the field due to his distance. He's top 5 in the field in terms of distance. And he's 10th in the field in terms of shots gained tee to green. That's the main thing I'm looking at when I look at Matthew NeSmith. He's going to kill it getting the ball to the green. His only issue, obviously, is his shots gained putting. He's well below average in the field when it comes to that. But again, when you're this far down the board, you're in that $6,000 range. You're always going to find, a fault with a player, if not multiple, if not everything across the board being a fault. So he's the kind of guy I'm willing to take a flyer on this week. Again, he finished top 25 in his first trip here. If he improves on that, you'd be looking at good value this week, and I expect him to do so, given just how good he's been with his irons. So love him this week. Love Matthew NeSmith, and those are my 5 picks for this week. And with that being said, that's all I have. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content and want to see more in the future. And make sure to leave a comment and let me know who you guys think wins this week, or who you guys think is the best value play for this week. I'm always willing to hear what you guys think and incorporate that in my analysis. So with that being said, good luck, guys, and I'll see you guys next week.